Stay tuned to the end of this video and I'll have a checklist of all the things you need to do to get ready for your open water fishing season. Hey everybody, Mike from Fisherman here. It's early May and you know what that means. Open water season in Minnesota is coming up. We've got an early start to the season with this beautiful weather, so I thought I'd get my kayak ready. Thought I'd show you what I do to get my kayak ready. I've got it all hooked up, ready to go to get it washed. But first, there's a couple of things we need to do. The first thing I like to do is you gotta check that tire pressure. It's been sitting all winter, and let's check it out and see if we got the right pressure in the tires. I know my tires are in good shape because last year I had one that the tread was going out on. So I actually bought a brand new one and I put my spare, which was brand new, on the other side. So I've got a spare that has kind of sketchy tread just in case I need it. But let's check out the pressure on them. You can probably hear in the background I got the air compressor going. Let's see what kind of PSI we got. We need 60 PSI in these tires. And if you've never checked a tire, they always say on the sidewall what PSI you need. And it's usually a cold PSI, which means you haven't been driving. Two different ways you can test. I've always used something like this, but I've also got a digital one. Both seem to be pretty much accurate the same. We're at 53, we gotta pump it up just a little bit more. All right, we got our first side done. Let's head over to the second side here and see what we can do. It makes sense that they're going to be a little bit low after winter, after sitting in the cold for so long. All right, we got the air in the tires. Now we're going to check and make sure that our brake lights work. A little tip, one year I had a little connection problem. So what I did was, down here where it connects to the vehicle, I took a wire brush and I went through there, and that's just what it needed. It just needed a little bit of that wire to kind of clear it out, and made a good connection with this part. So little tip. So I'm going to plug it in here, and once I get it plugged in, I'm going to turn my car on. We're going to see if the brake lights work. We're going to see if the turn signals work. And I know I have one side light out, but I think the other one works. So let's get it hooked up. All right, so if you saw my late in the season videos, you know I was getting out there right until pretty much it snowed. I was out there when it was pretty cold. So before I put it away, I did not wash my kayak. So that's my next order of business. Let's get this kayak all cleaned up for our opener next week. All right, we made it to the trusty car wash. Time to get this Hobie Pro Angler clean. Nice to get the boat washed. Looks pretty good. All right, I wanted to show you something too when you are strapping your boat down to take it on a trip. A couple little tips that might help as you transport your boat this summer. A couple of tips. Now that you've got your boat secured with the strap, you always got a little extra, and I always tie a little knot here. And there was a problem. This knot would come loose, especially when I was driving on the highway. So what I decided to do a few years back was buy one of these small gear ties. And what I do is I take it and I put it right in front of the knot. And I have not had a knot let go since. So a nice little tip for you. Put that knot in front of there and you won't have your strap flapping around. One other tip is, when I first got my boat, I was securing it to the wooden bunk, and that did not work because that was pulling on the screws that hold the bunk onto the metal. So what I do now is I make sure that my strap is around metal, and I haven't had any problems with my bunk since. A couple little tips as you're transporting your boat. All right, now that we got the front secure, I'll show you that we are on metal. And I've got the gear tie in front of the knot. Now we got the straps on the metal. We've got the gear ties on the straps. There's one more little thing that I found that's helpful when I'm transporting my boat, and that is bungee cords. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Another thing that can happen is these straps kind of float backwards as you're pulling your boat. So I take a bungee cord, I hook it into the buckle, and I find a connection here on my boat, and this keeps this pulled forward so it's not going to slide back. Keeps it from flapping around as you're driving. Same with the front one. I hook it into the buckle. I find a connection towards the back here, and these two bungee cords will keep it from flapping around even if you're driving on the highway. A couple of nice tips so that you don't have to stop and redo your straps as you travel. Now we're all set to transport this boat home. Hey everybody, it's the next day. I'm still getting my kayak ready for that first trip next weekend. Thought I'd go through a couple more things with you. The first thing is I've got a dry bag that I keep in my front hatch here on my Hobie. And I want to show you what I put in it because there's some essentials that I think you need. First thing is a first aid kit. So I got a nice first aid kit. I think I got this at Sierra Trading. They have a lot of good options for there. Walmart's got them, but have a first aid kit. I found that out after dark one night when I got a hook stuck in my hand. It was super handy to have that first aid kit. So you just never know when you're going to need it. Always have extra bungees, especially for loading and unloading, just in case you need them. You saw yesterday how I used some of my bungees on my trailer. Lighting. This works as a flashlight, and it also works in my kayak as a light that I can stick on the side of my boat. In fact, I've got a great video of this cheap lighting solution for your kayak. And I see a lot of expensive ones, but this one has worked just fine for me when I fished after dark. So having that light. Also this year, I was lucky enough to find this little portable spotlight. Yeah, it's bright. So this would be nice if I'm coming into a landing, or maybe even early in the morning if I need a little bit of light while I'm loading. It's rechargeable, and I'm gonna have this in my dry bag this year. I've got an extra pair of pliers here. These are just some cheap Bass Pro pliers, but you know what, every once in a while I forget my pliers. I'm gonna throw these in the dry bag. Sunglasses. I don't know about you, but I need my sunglasses when I'm on the water. And I've got some really nice Costa ones that I wear, but like everything else, I forget them sometimes. So I've got an extra pair of sunglasses that I'm gonna put in the dry bag. So this dry bag will stay. Oh, one more thing. Never forget the sunscreen. So the sunscreen, actually I keep that in my hatch here. But the dry bag is going to have all those things that I just mentioned. Put it up front here. Another thing that's an essential in a kayak is a bilge pump. You're never going to hope that you have to use this, but there's been a few times when I've been out there and the waves have been pretty bad, and Hobies are pretty watertight, but I've had to pull up to shore, and this was helpful to get some of the water out of the front of my kayak. So if you ever have a leak or anything, these bilge pumps are great. Most important, please, please, please wear your life jacket. I've got one of these automatic inflatable ones, so if I fall out of the boat and hit my head on something, it'll automatically deploy. It's a must to wear your life jacket when you're in a kayak. You might have thought, you know what? You didn't mention any fishing stuff. I'm going to leave that up to you to figure out what to bring and not to bring. I'm actually kind of glad that I'm doing this video because I almost forgot about my extra rain gear. I have a really nice set of rain gear, but I don't always bring it. I've always got an extra set that I put in my hatch. Make sure you have your license. That was something that seems weird to overlook, but definitely I had to think about it, and I just got my license this past weekend. A couple other things I need to remember to bring along with me on a Hobie are the seat, which I store in my car. I never transport the seat connected to the Hobie. And also my drive, the pedal drive that fits down there. If you're like me, that first trip, you always forget something. But this year I'm trying to be extra organized, and I'm trying to give you guys some tips too so you can be organized. All right, as we finish up, here we go. Here's the checklist of the things that I recommend you do before you take that first trip of the open water season. First, check that trailer. If you trailer your boat or your kayak, check the tires for the tire pressure, because in Minnesota it gets pretty cold. Our trailers sit for a while. Make sure you have the right PSI in them. Second, check the wiring on the trailer. Do all the lights work? There's nothing worse than getting to that day and you're all excited to fish and you have a light that's out. Third, if you put your boat away late in the season and you didn't get a chance to clean it up a little bit. Have it ready for that first trip. Safety gear. Do you have your life jacket? Do you have a bilge pump? Think about that dry bag or that storage stuff that you have. Do you have your extra rain gear? Do you have a first aid kit? Anything else you might need? Some lighting? Well, there you have it. There's only one thing to do, and that's get fishing. Now, earlier in the video, I mentioned a lighting system that I have for my kayak. It would actually work on any kayak, and there's a link right up here if you want to check out that video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one.